Imagine this. You're held captive on a deserted island with terrorists who want you to manufacture missiles for them. However, you conceive an unimaginable idea to create an indestructible armor that you can use to escape from there. But the twist is that you only have a cave filled with scrap. This is exactly what happened to Tony and how he became a superhero. To understand how this unfolded, let's backtrack a bit. A convoy of Army Humvees drives across the Afghanistan desert in one. In every one of them is billionaire weapons developer Tony Stark, Robert Downy Junior, using soldiers on duty. He is joking with some contributors of a convoy who appear to be definitely amused via his character and his flamboyant public image. Suddenly, the convoy is ambushed by unseen gunmen. The squaddies combat to guard themselves, but are quickly killed. Tony flees the Humvee, taking shelter in the back of a large rock. Moments later, a missile lands nearby and explodes, but now, not before Tony sees the Stark Industries emblem painted on it. A small quantity of shrapnel penetrates his body armor, and he is thrown backwards, dropping consciousness. Las Vegas, 36 hours earlier. Tony Stark is ready to acquire the Apogee Award in Las Vegas. A presentation documents Tony's existence. Tale-born the son of legendary guns developer Howard Stark, Tony is a toddler prodigy who built his first circuit board while he changed into 4 years old, his first V8 engine whilst he turned into 6, and graduated summa cum laude from MIT whilst he became 17. His dad and mom were killed in a car. Coincidence in 1991, and while he was 21, he became CEO of Stark Industries, in which he's to nowadays Colonel James Rhodey Rhodes Terrence Howard prepares to present Tony the award. But Tony isn't in attendance. Tony's right-hand guy and his father's former associate Obadiah Stain Jeff Bridges accepts the award in Tony's stead. Rhodey later unearths Tony partying in a casino. On his way out, a reporter named Christine Everhart Leslie Bibb approaches Stark with a few questions regarding the ethics of his weapons enterprise. Stark deflects her questions with some speedy quips, and the two come to be spending the night time together at Tony's oceanfront house in Malibu. The next morning, Christine is awoken through a voice on a laptop revealing it's Jarvis voice Paul Bettany, the artificially wise program responsible for strolling Tony's house and his research lab. As Christine leaves the house, she's greeted by Tony's human assistant, Virginia Pepper Potts Gwyneth Paltrow. Pepper helps Tony seize up on a few business before Tony heads out to the airport, wherein his plane awaits. In flight, Tony talks with Rhodey. Rhodey is unhappy about Tony's lax mindset, and Tony attempts to get his old buddy to relax. Before lengthy, they are under the influence of alcohol and leering on the flight attendants. Tony arrives at a Navy outpost in Afghanistan to illustrate his organization's cutting-edge project, the Jericho, a complicated, outstanding missile gadget. After the demonstration, Tony gets a telephone name from Obadiah, and they're each pleased that the demonstration went well. Refusing to ride with Rhodey, Tony takes off in some other Humvee, in which the ambush from the opening of the tail takes region. Much later, Tony regains consciousness in a cave. On his chest is a typical device crudely linked to an automobile battery. Another captive Dr. Ho Yinsen, Sean Tobe, explains that he operated on Tony. However, I was not able to cast off all the shrapnel. Yinsen created a device, basically an electromagnet, in an effort to keep the closing fragments from moving and causing further harm to his heart. The terrorists who captured Tony and Jensen entered the room. Jensen interprets they want Tony to build them a Jericho missile. Tony refuses. They torture him by dunking his head in water. Hours later, the terrorists, members of a set referred to as the 10 Rings, display off a big stockpile of guns, all made by means of Stark Industries. Tony appears to present and starts off building the missile. But he has different plans. With Jensen's consistent medical doctor's arms and the use of palladium amassed from his weapons, Tony constructs a tiny model of an arc reactor, streamlined from a much larger design used at his organization's headquarters. The strength output is sufficient to run Stark's heart for 50 lifetimes, or something a lot larger for approximately 15 minutes. It may also be enough to hold the shrapnel in Tony's heart from shifting any further and killing him. Yinsen tells Tony a bit about himself. He lived in an Afghani village known as Gulmira that became attacked by using the 10 Rings. He does not realize if his circle of relatives remains alive. He additionally well-known shows that he'd met Tony years before at a convention. However, Tony turned into so inebriated that nighttime he likely does not bear in mind him. Tony is spurred and appears to have an alternative heart. He begins to draw up plans for a weapon machine, an armored shape powered through the arc reactor that he'll put on and use to defeat the terrorists. Midway via construction, the head of the 10 Rings, Raza Farhan Tahir, arrives and threatens to torture Jinsen. That's all for this part. Click here for part 2, and don't forget to subscribe the channel.